Guys, please confirm to me. All of you get my voice on screen. Those are attending in online. Guys, please confirm to me. All of you get my voice on screen. Those are attending in online. Guys, please check it. All of you get my voice on screen. Those are attending in online. Right. Right. Good morning, guys. And check it. What we are discussing in the last session. So I think so. We are discussing about steps to prepare first Java application. In that steps to prepare first Java application, what are the topics we already understood? First one is download and install database software. Okay, then what we downloaded in our class there, Oracle 21xe database we have downloaded. Next one is download and install Java software and its related softwares like IDE. Related software is what there, IDE. Not required to discuss anything about this particular one. Why? Because already we had information on this particular one. Already we have some information on this particular topic. Next one is after completion of this, what next one here? Prepare JDBC application logic in a Java project where nearly 5 steps are available. What are the 5 steps here we are having there? Load and register driver. Next one is establish connection between Java application and database. Third one is create either statement or a prepared statement or callable statement depending on our application requirement. Depending on our application requirement. Okay. Next one, write and execute SQL queries, close the resources like connection, statement, and so on. Here, what are the points here we already started there in load and register driver, where I given some points. In JDBC applications, if we want to load and register the driver, first we have to understand what is this driver actually. Driver is an interface provided by Sun Microsystems, and its implementation classes are provided by all database vendors. Understand it clearly. And its implementation classes are provided by all database vendors. So where database vendors have provided this driver implementation classes now, all database vendors have provided this driver implementation class in the respective database softwares only. So the database software is not a Java software. Please remember this. Database software is available in some location and our Java software is available at some other location. Nice. If you want to load and register the driver, first we have to make available the driver class to the JDBC application, that is to the JVM. To make available driver class to the JVM or to the JDBC application, simply we have to set class path environment variable. There we have given already one point here. What is that point I have given there? If you are using Oracle database, then Oracle database has provided, Oracle has provided the driver in the form of a class. What is that class actually? Oracle.jdbc.oracle driver in a jar file named as oracle11.jar file at the location. What is that location here? No. See oracle21xkey db home xkey jdbc lib ojdbc11.jar file. Understand my point here? No. So that ojdbc11.jar file is available in Oracle database actual Oracle software. Then set a class path is equal to the total location here we specified. Set a class path is equal to c colon slash oracle 21xe db home xe jdbc lib ojdbc 11 dot jar file. This is what we are getting clearly. Next one, if we are using Eclipse IDE, simply add a required jar file in a build path. How to add that one to the build path in the sense, I'll give clarity, no need to worry for it clearly. Right, sir. Similarly, if we are using type 1 driver, that is sun.jdbc.odbc.jdbc driver in a JDBC application, then it is not required to set a class path environment variable. Why? Because type 1 driver class was provided by Sun Microsystems in the same Java software along with the Java predefined library. The class path setup is not required in the case of which driver? No, type 1 driver. Why? Because type 1 driver class was provided by Sun Microsystems in the same Java software. Everybody understand this point clearly. Next one is after that, after completion of this, what next one here we have to understand that. But if you want to use type 1 driver in a JDBC applications, no, if you want to use type 1 driver in a JDBC applications, then we have to configure ODBC driver. How we are able to configure ODBC driver? What is the process of configuring ODBC driver? If you have to this, here are given some steps. What are the various steps you are given there? First, open control panel, select system and security, click on administrative tools. Then what next one here? Select ODBC data sources 64-bit. Click on add button. Select Oracle in Aura DB21 home. Click on finish button. Provide data source name. I have given my name. In your system, you can give your own name. Next one, click on OK button and click on OK button. So this setup is required for only type 1 driver, not required for all the drivers. Only if you want to use type 1 driver, then only we have to go for this setup. Otherwise, it is not required. But there is a point here. What is the point here we have to understand there? Type 1 driver support is existed in Java up to which version of the Java? Java 1.7 version only. It is not existed from Java 1.8 version onwards. It is not existed in Java from 1.8 version onwards. In JDB's applications, to load and register driver class, we have to use the following method from java.lang.class. What's that method here? We have used there public static class for name string class name throws. What is this exception here? No, class not found exception. Then multiple examples I have given on the base of this. Class dot for name of type 1 driver here we have used type 1 driver. Class dot for name of what next one? Type 4 driver provided by Oracle. Oracle.jdbc.oracle driver. Class dot for name of com.mysql.cj.jdbc.driver. Type 4 driver from MySQL. Right. Observe carefully. When we execute this particular instruction, when JVM execute this particular instruction, what happened internally? What JVM is able to do internally? These points here we have to understand here now. Already yesterday I given some explanation regarding this particular point, but I have not given any note related to this one. Now let's understand this clearly, what I'm trying to say now. So when JVM executes the above instruction, JVM will perform the following actions. What actions are performed by JVM here? Alright, so the very first one. What is this first one here now? Tell me. What is the first step here now? JVM will take the provided driver class from for name method. That's fine. Second point is what there, JVM will search for its dot class file, for its dot class file, driver dot class file at the following three locations. Come on guys, what are the three locations here we have to specify there? No, first one is what there, current location, and second one is what there, Java predefined library. Right. See, JVM is thinking about it. The driver class is a part of the current project. It is available as a separate class, but it is not. In the case if it is not, JVM is next thinking about it. What there? It may be the part of the Java predefined library. There also it will be checked here. Then after that, still if it is not available, then what is that one here? No, locations referred by whom? Referred by class path environment variable. What is it? No, class path environment variable. Class path environment variable. Observe carefully here what I am telling there. Referred by class path environment variable. That means now JVM is thinking it may be the part of the third party library. That part third party libraries are available at which locations? Can no, class path only. Somewhere else it is available that we already provide in the class path. No. In that way JVM will check for it. Right. Point number 3. If the driver dot class file is not identified at all the above locations, then JVM will raise an exception. JVM will raise an exception like what? What is this exception here? Java.lang.class not found exception. Java.lang.class not found exception. This we are able to get clearly. Understand it now. Now this is point number 3. Then similarly, point number 4. What is this point number 4 actually? In the case if the required driver dot class file is identified at either of the above locations, if the required dot class file is identified, then what is the next situation here? No, then JVM will load its bytecode to the memory. JVM will load its bytecode to the memory. Good guys, there I have given some points here. What's the point here? No, then fifth point is what there, at the time of loading driver class, bytecode to the memory, what JVM will do there? JVM will execute a static block. Every driver class has to manage one static block. Every driver class, it may be type 1 driver, or it may be type 4 driver, or it may be then anything, whatever it may be, every driver class has to maintain a static block, where inside static block JVM will execute a method call driver manager dot then what's that one, driver manager dot register driver method. So inside the static block there is a method called like what there, driver manager dot register driver method is available, that will be executed. Then what next one here? No, by the execution of driver manager dot register driver, or simply speaking, by the execution of register driver method in a driver manager class, by the execution of register driver method in a driver manager class, JVM will make ready driver for our application. It will activate the driver for our application. There's a point here. Next one. Okay, fine. Then what next one here? After completion of this total part, driver is getting ready for us. After getting this driver here, then what next one here? JVM will get metadata of the loaded driver class, and JVM will store that metadata by creating an object, for java.lang.class. Already in Java, if any class is loaded in the method area, automatically java.lang.class object will be created. Inside this class object only, the required data, the required metadata will be stored. The total required metadata will be stored just by creating java.lang.class object. This is what exactly the total work, what exactly the content here we completed clearly. This is the JVM internal concept when JVM executes class.forName method. Yes, sir, all of you are getting my point or not? Right. Then one small point I want to give. Then after that I will give some pseudo code, some basic model code I want to give. First of all, let me go for like what there the basic content here. What is the basic point? That means one more point here I'm telling to you. Try to observe this clearly. Listen carefully. If we use like what there JDBC 3.0 version or Java 1.8 version onwards. Are getting my point? If we use JDBC 3.0 version or Java 1.8 version onwards, load and register driver step is optional, not mandatory to write in a JDBC applications. Not required to write class.forName method in the latest versions of the Java. From which version onwards the support is available here? No. Java 1.8 version onwards. From which version of JDBC? JDBC 3.0. Now at present JDBC 5.0 or 6. Something else, some version is available here. Right from 3.0 version onwards, this flexibility is available. But once again, let me review this point here. If we use JDBC 3.0 version or Java 1.8 version onwards, load and register driver step is optional in case of type 1 driver. What is this driver? In case of what driver? Type 1 driver. Yes, all of you are getting my point? Alright, sir. Even in 1.8 version, type 1 driver is not existed anyway, not required to use even. I think so, maybe 1.8 or 1.7. Okay, 1.7 I think so. Why? Because in 1.7 only the type 1 driver is available. So optional here. Leave this point here. Next, one more point I am telling to you. Observe carefully. Note. If we use JDBC 3.0 version or Oracle, listen carefully, and not or and Oracle, which version onwards? 11xe or 11c or 11g or 11c I think so. Understand my point here? Okay. Or MySQL 5.8 version. MySQL what version? They know 5.8 version onwards. Load and register driver step is optional. Load and register driver step is optional in case of type 4 driver. Simply speaking, in the latest versions of the databases and Java, load and register driver step is optional. Load and register driver step is optional, both in the case of type 1 driver as well as in the case of like what they know, type 4 driver. In JDBC applications, not required to write like what there class.forName method. Get my point or not? Then immediately may have one doubt now. Okay, sir, this step is optional. Without writing class.forName method, if I prepare JDBC application, is my JDBC application is executed successfully or not? Yes, that point I am telling there. Yes, it is executable. But without loading driver class, how driver will work for our application? No? You're not writing class.forName method. Means the driver class is not going to be loaded. But without loading this driver class, without registering driver class, without registering driver, how come our JDBC driver will activate for our JDBC application? How it is possible? I may have this question here. That's why here I'm telling to you clearly. In the above cases, in the above cases, if we prepare, if we prepare JDBC applications without loading and registration of without loading registration of driver step answer my point here now. In the above cases, if we prepare JDB's applications without loading and registration of the driver step, then JVM will load and register driver. JVM will load and register driver. This point is important. When we establish connection between Java application and a database. Java application and database. Yes, sir. All of you understand this point here. In the above cases, if we prepare JDB's applications without loading and registration of the driver step, then JVM will load and register driver. At what time there? No. At what time there? Then JVM will load and register driver automatically. Automatically. At what time? Please remember. Please respond for me. At what time? When we establish connection between Java application and database. That means at what time? You know, at step 2. At step 2 of JDBC applications. Step 2 is what they know, establish connection between Java application and database. So means that the point is what there, without loading driver class, without registration of the driver, no JDBC application will be executed. But what Java people have done for us now, instead of performing this step as a separate one, they have embedded this step to the second step. That is what they establish the connection between Java application and database. When we are trying to establish the connection between Java application and database, first JVM will check the related driver is loaded or not. Related driver is activated or not. First JVM will check it. If it is not activated, then JVM will load the driver class bytecode. Then it will search for the related driver class in all the 3 locations. If it is available, then JVM will load the driver class to the memory. At the time of loading driver class to the memory, JVM will like execute a static block. Inside the static block, driver managed.register driver method will be executed. When JVM is executing driver managed.register driver method, automatically our driver will be activated for our JDBC applications. Guys, all of you understand this clearly, what I'm telling to you now. So here the point is like what there. Here the point is what there. If you are not performing load and register driver class now as a separate step, no need to worry for it. Just we can skip it now. When we are establishing a connection between Java application and database, automatically this step will be performed internally. In that way, in the latest versions of the JDBC, the JDBC steps are provided. Fine. Now tell me overall here, class.forName method is required to write or not required to write in JDBC applications? That is optional. That is optional. If you wish to write, you can write it. If you don't want to write, not required to write it. No. But automatically JVM will perform that step along with what step there? No. Establish connection between Java application and database. Right, sir. Now let's understand some pseudocode here. Pseudocode in the sense like what I'm telling to you. Listen carefully. Here I give in some steps to you. What are the steps here now? At the time of loading driver class bytecode to the memory, JVM will execute a static block, where inside static block, JVM will execute a method called driver manage.register driver method. So this point I want to show in the form of some model code. How it is available in general inside the JDBC, we are going to see some model code here. Now let's observe this carefully. Now here, understand this. First of all here, what I am telling to all of you know, public interface driver. some content is available. Not required what is available. It is not at all mandatory for us. This is provided by whom? Driver is an interface provided by whom? Sun Microsystems. Observe carefully. Next one, public class. Just we can understand Oracle driver. Maybe we can use like what there sun.jdbc.odbc.jdbc driver also. Implementation class I required. Then here either directly or indirectly what it has to implement there no driver. What it has to implement there driver either directly or indirectly. Alright sir. Now tell me who is providing this one here now tell me. Oracle. This product is provided by whom there? Oracle. Right. Inside this, then what I am telling there, apart from this, here we have another class, public class driver manager. Driver manager. Inside this public class driver manager, here we have a method, public static void registered driver of some parameters available, not required. Here some native implementation is available. Some implementations are also be existed here. Leave this one. So this is driver manager class. Inside this driver manager class, so many methods are available. Not only this driver manager class is very important class in JDBC. It has so many methods that so many methods are clarifying so many doubts of the JDBC developers. That is a centralized class. The total management of the JDBC is going on with this particular one only. The total JDBC maintenance internally is going on with this particular class only. So this is very important class, and everywhere we are going to use that. All right, sir. So this is like what their public class driver manager. So many methods are available. Now among them, one of the method is what they know register driver method. All right, sir. Now inside this, inside this Oracle driver, so many methods are available. Here there is a block. What is this block actually? Static block is existed. Inside the static block here, what I'm telling here, some other implementation is available. Here we are having like what there, driver manager dot register driver method call is identified. Driver manager dot register driver method call is available. You can understand this clearly. Right, sir. This is completed. Now here, I'm going to provide like what there. This is like our program. Now this is also this is provided by Oracle. This is provided by like whom they know Sun Microsystems. It is also be existed at what they know Sun Microsystems. This also be provided by predefined library Sun Microsystems. All right. Now here public class JDBC app. Guys, now tell me this is provided by. This is provided by our prepared class JDBC application. Right, sir. JDBC developer, JDBC application developer. This is provided by JDBC application developer. Now inside this, what I'm telling there, public static void main. This is our application. Actually, JDBC application I'm telling there. Inside the JDBC application, what I'm trying to do there, simply speaking, now here I want to use throws exception. For the sake of program safety point of view, I've written that throws exception. There I'm using like what there, class dot for name of. Here we have to provide like what there, Oracle dot JDBC dot Oracle driver. Alright, sir. Class dot for name of Oracle dot JDBC dot Oracle driver. Everybody understand this point now. Alright, sir. Now this total part, driver manager class maybe, driver interface maybe, Oracle driver. This everything is already existed. Everything is provided, predefined. But only this class we have written. JDBC app class is what there? Our class. There I have taken main method. Inside this main method I have written what there? Class dot for name method, where we specified what there? One a driver class. Even I don't like to fix a particular driver class now. It may be like what there sun dot jdbc dot odbc dot jdbc odbc driver, or it may be like what there oracle dot jdbc dot oracle driver. It may be anything. Understand my point clearly? Right, sir. Now after that, then here what happened they know when JVM execute this JDBC app, JVM will come to the main method. Now JVM will execute what they know class dot for name method. When JVM is executing class dot for name of Oracle.jdbc.oracle driver, when JVM is executing that, then immediately what JVM will search there? JVM will search for Oracle.jdbc.oracle driver class. Now this Oracle driver class is existed or not existed? Yes, existed here. This is provided in class path environment variable. Now JVM is identifying this particular one. When JVM is identifying this particular one, immediately JVM is trying to load its byte code to the memory. JVM is trying to load this byte code to the memory. At the time of loading this driver class byte code to the memory, what it will execute there? No, static block will be executed. Now inside the static block is executing there. Inside the static block, what instruction is executed here? No, driver manager dot register driver method will be executed. Then immediately JVM will go to what class there? No, driver manager class. Inside the driver manager class, what method it has to execute there? Register driver method. By the execution of this register driver method, the total driver registration code will be executed or not. Means the driver will be activated or not. The driver is getting ready for our JDBC applications or not. This is what exactly that internal flow of execution here we can understand. This is in the case of which driver, sir? I'm giving information there. No, Oracle driver. This is in the case of what there? Oracle driver. Now this is identified in class path or not? This Oracle driver is identified through what there? No, class path kernel. Understand my point clearly? For example, in the case of type 1 driver, I'm asking there. In the case of type 1 driver, I'm giving there same flow of execution in the case of type 1 driver. Now try to understand it now. Here just I'm going to copy and paste this, but try to understand who are provided by whom. That point here we have to understand here. Now tell me, we are provided this code here. First of all, understand this. Public class driver manager provided by whom? Sun Microsystems, no changes. As it is, the register driver method is existed here. Here some parameters also existed. Leave this one. Next one is public interface driver interface. No changes on this one. Sun Microsystems. But instead of this Oracle driver, I want to use what there? sun.jdbc.odbc.jdbc driver. This is type 1 driver. I'm trying to use it. This is also be provided by whom? Sun Microsystems only. Understand it clearly. But as a separate implementation, Sun Microsystems has provided this driver class now. Okay, fine. Now inside this also here, I forgot to specify some parameters required here. Here also the static method, static block is available where driver manager dot register driver is existed. That's okay. Everything is clear. Observe carefully here what I'm telling to you. Now here inside this here what I'm telling now, the driver class is like what there? Sun dot jdbc dot odbc dot jdbc odbc driver. Now in the case of type 1 driver here we are talking guys, right? Observe carefully. So all setups are clear or not? So driver manager class, register driver here. This is like what there? Driver. Answer my point here. Parameter is also a driver actually. Driver is a parameter from which object here we are going. Simply speaking, here just simple. I'm telling that we can specify this object. This in the sense what object there? No, current object. Similarly, here also we here this object. This object in the sense like what there? Current object. Current in the sense driver or not? Oracle driver implements driver or not? So strictly speaking, this is what they know, driver. Okay. Here also we can understand here. Here also instead of saying this, driver. Implementation is available, but I don't want to make it as complex here. Easily we have to understand that. That's why I'm not writing the driver previously. But anyway, understand it. You can easily get the point here. Now let's come for our content, guys. Then what I'm telling to you, when we execute this JDB's application, JVM will come to main method. JVM will execute what there? Class dot for name method, sun dot jdbc dot odbc dot jdbc odbc driver. Then what JVM will do now? JVM will take this driver class, search for driver class at current location, not available at Java predefined library. Now at Java predefined library is existed or not existed? Existed here. Then flow of execution will go to what they know, the JDBC ODBC driver class. When it is identified, JVM will load this JDBC ODBC driver class to the memory or not. Now JVM is loading that. When JVM is loading this driver JDBC ODBC driver class to the memory, automatically which block will be executed here? No, static block will be executed. Inside the static block, what is available? Driver manager dot register driver is existed. This method is called. When this method is called by passing the current object there, immediately flow of execution will go to what there? Driver manager class. Inside the driver manager class, which method is executed here? No, register driver method will be executed. Then automatically it will activate the driver what we are using for our JDBC application. Similarly, you may take MySQL also, MySQL provided driver also. I get my point or not? Even if you want to provide MySQL provided driver class, what is the scenario is going to be happen here? Now tell me, you only tell me what changes here I have to provide there if you want to use MySQL provided driver. Just examples I'm telling there. In every driver class, the same scenario is going on. In the case of any driver, the same flow of execution is going on. In that way only, all the database vendors have prepared their implementations. Moreover, Sun Microsystems has given these clues, this model implementation, how to implement this particular one. As for that only, all the database vendors have provided this. Now let's say how changes here now. Let's say how changes here, then what we are able to provide here now. Public class driver manager provided by Sun Microsystems, no changes up to now. Next one, after completion of this, public interface, driver interface, no changes here now. Then what next one here? Public class JDBC, ODBC driver. In place of this, just simply I'm telling to you, this is a driver. This is a driver here. What driver here now? Com dot mysql dot cj dot jdbc dot driver. But this is what driver here now? Tell me, son. This is what driver here now? Java dot sql dot. This is what driver here? Java.sql.driver. This is Java.sql.driver. I get my point or not? Okay, fine. Now, then what next one here? After completion of these changes, no? In JDB's application here, what we have to specify there? Now tell me. Here we have to specify like what there? com.mysql.cj.jdbc.driver. Sir, are you getting my point or not? Now let's observe carefully. Let me check once again here. Driver manager, register driver is okay, fine. Then what next one here? Interface driver. Then this is MySQL driver, implementation class of this driver. Either directly or indirectly, we are implementing driver interface only. Next one, some static block is available where we are calling this JDB's application. Now this is JDB's application provided by developer. This is developer provided code. Right, sir. When we execute the JDBC application, what JVM will do there? Now tell me. First JVM will come to what their main method. JVM will execute what their class dot for name of com dot mysql dot cj dot jdbc dot driver. Then JVM will take this driver class. JVM will search for this driver dot class file in the current location. Not available. Then it will search in which location here? No, Java predefined library. Again not available. Then JVM will search for it in which locations? No, class path. Already we set class path to MySQL connector Java jar file there. No, inside this it is available. Then JVM will get this driver class in the class path. When JVM identify this driver dot class file, that means this one here com.mysql.cj.jdb driver. When it identifies this particular class, immediately JVM is trying to load this driver class bytecode to the memory. When JVM is loading this driver class bytecode to the memory, automatically what block will be executed here? No, static block will be executed. Inside this static block, what method is called here? No, driver manager dot register driver method is called. Then immediately flow of execution will go to what class there? No, driver manager class. Inside the driver manager class, what method is available? Register driver method is available. Now this method will be executed. By the execution of this register driver method, automatically our JDBC activation code, driver activation code will be executed, where automatically the respective driver will be activated for our JDBC applications. Through this, we are able to communicate with MySQL database from Java application. Yes, sir. All of you are getting that internal flow. What exactly the class dot for method, what it is doing, what actually we required internally, all the points we are getting clarity or not? Right, sir. All together, I'm telling to you, 3 examples I shown. Forget about all the examples. In a generic way, we have to explain the point. How driver will be registered for our JDBC application? That's a point. When JVM executes class.forName method, JVM will take the driver class. JVM will search for the driver.class file at current location, at Java predefined library, and at the locations referred by class path environment variable. If driver.class file is identified at either of these 3 locations, no, JVM will load the driver class bytecode to the memory. Right, at the time of loading driver class bytecode to the memory, if a static block will be executed. By default, static block is available in every driver class. That Sun Microsystems has given a suggestion for every database vendors in your driver classes. Take one static block. Inside the static block, take what their driver manager dot register driver method. Call that method. Then we provided driver manager class in our java.sql package now, where register driver method will take care about it, how to register the driver for our JDBC application. Then every database vendors have implemented the driver class. Inside the driver class, static block. Inside the static block, driver manager dot register driver method. Then the same way, every database vendor have implemented that. So now here, JVM is executing that static block. By the execution of the static block, driver manager dot register driver method will be executed. By the execution of driver manager dot register driver method, automatically the specified driver will be registered for our JDBC applications. Yes, all of you are getting clarity on these points now? Leave this here. Now this is the max information here. We understood clearly. Then you may have one doubt here. Sir, what is the process of this driver here? What is the role of this driver? We are not executing this. Am I right or not? Right? Then you should not get this question if you understand the total point here. If you understand the total JDB subtraction, whatever the definitions I have given there, you should not ask this question. Why? Because driver is an interface provided by Sun Microsystems and its implementation classes are provided by all the database vendors. Because of this interface and implementation classes approach only, Sun Microsystems at a safe side. If this interface and implementation classes concept is not available, then every driver implementation must be provided by Sun Microsystems only. That is burdenful thing for the Sun Microsystems. Moreover, it has to provide one separate implementation class for one driver. But because of this driver interface only, Sun Microsystem has reduced its work and it has given option to all the database vendors to prepare their own implementation classes. This is the real meaning of the abstraction. This is the real meaning of what they know, an abstraction. Please recognize this point. Maybe interviewer may ask this question to you. Can you tell me any example for abstraction? How this abstraction is available in Java? Then in general, what people are saying there, no, abstraction in the sense object-oriented features. Class of object encapsulation abstraction, the remaining part. Process of hiding unnecessary and process of showing necessary is called as an abstraction. Can you tell me any example with elaboration then? Then in that situation, take this example. Take this example. What's that example here? JDBC is total as an abstraction. And it is provided by Sun Microsystems. And its implementations are provided by all the database vendors. Even the database vendors are not exposed to their implementation effectively. Up to how much is required, that only we are able to get. Up to how much is required for JDBC developers, up to that only they are going to use. Okay, good. How it is available in that JDBC also? Take one example there. Driver is the best example. Driver is an interface provided by Sun Microsystems. And Sun Microsystems has not provided any implementation in general. Sun Microsystems left out an option for all the database vendors to provide their own implementation. Of course, all database vendors have requested to Sun Microsystems about to provide your own implementation. Their type 1 driver come into the picture. That's okay. But in general, the concept I'm telling there, interface is provided by Sun Microsystems. Implementations are provided by all the database vendors. How database vendors have provided their own implementation there? As per their database nativity, they provided their own implementations now. Then as you are the JDBC application developer, we are going to identify what implementation is provided by the current database, where required classes and required things only here we are able to use. Now try to recognize this here. In this overall scenario, class.forName method, JDBC application developer. Class.forName method, just we are using what there no driver class name. That's it. The remaining thing is not required for developer. For our understanding purpose, I discussed it here. Developer point of view, what exactly the driver class is available, what exactly the driver class is available, up to that only required for developer. Then everything, that every remaining thing is not required by the developer. Who has given driver information, who has provided implementation, that doesn't matter for the developer. Sir, all of you are getting my point or not? So this is an example, the real meaning of like what they know, like abstraction. So this abstraction is possible because of what interface you know? Because of driver interface only. Sun Microsystems has provided this driver is an abstraction. I got my point or not? The total, because of interface only, on the basis of interfaces only, Sun Microsystems has provided the total abstraction content about this JDBC. Not only in the case of JDBC, your servlets is also an abstraction provided by Sun Microsystems and implemented by all the server vendors. Servlet abstraction is provided by all the server vendors. JSP is an abstraction provided by Sun Microsystems and its implementations are provided by server vendors. Tomcat has provided one implementation. WebLogic vendor has provided another implementation. Wildfly vendor has provided one other implementation. But in the JDBC, database vendors have provided implementations now. But in the case of server-side technologies, maybe servlets who are providing implementations, they know server vendors are providing implementations. That depends on context. Who is providing interfaces, who is providing implementations? No, that's the real meaning of like what they know, abstraction. Yes, guys, all of you are getting my point or not? Right, sir. Leave this total content here. This is sufficient about the step number 1. Load and register the driver. Right, guys, I'm telling to all of you, just wait for that interviewer question. If interviewer is asking any question in JDBC, then you should be in a position to talk about that particular topic up to half an hour. You should be in a position to talk about that particular question up to half an hour. You have to be available like that. Then definitely interviewer will impress about your answers there. Definitely will give job to you, sure. So you have to prepare in this level. Right, sir. Leave this point here. Now let's come for the establish connection between Java application and database. What are the next steps, sir? Now tell me. Establish connection between Java application and database. This is our next step here. Nice, good. Let's understand this point here. All of you guys understand it now. Before moving to this particular point here, where we are in JDBC, let me have one diagram. After completion of this step number 1, where we are in a JDBC, I want to prepare this diagram with respect to the type 1 driver, but we can convert the same diagram into type 4 driver also, in general diagram also, but try to understand it clearly. All right. Observe carefully. I want to take a database. First, I want to prepare a database. Now, this is my database. Observe carefully. All of you know, this is my database. Of course, Oracle database. Oracle database. Database. Okay, fine. Inside this database, some tables are available, some schemas or whatever it may be. Then database configuration, database content is existent. Guys, now tell me, for every database, what is required, sir? To execute SQL queries, what is required there? Now tell me, database engine is required or not? Definitely, database engine is required. This is database engine. This database engine will connect with the database, will communicate with the database. It will open the database doors. Open the database doors through what they know, through username and password. In the installation of the Oracle database, there we provided system, then Durga. Oracle database installation, username is system, password is what the Durga. I have taken or not? Username and password that we have taken there, right? The same thing. Next one, after completion of this particular thing here, what next one here? All right, sir, understand this. This is Java application. Next one is like what there? This is like what there? Java application. All right, sir. Now, if you want to use type 1 driver, in the case of this type 1 driver, I'm giving example again. Now try to understand it. No, in the case of type 1 driver, what driver? In the case of type 1 driver, we have to configure ODBC driver or not? We have to configure ODBC driver or not? Okay, now here we are able to have like what there? ODBC driver. In the case of type 1 driver, we require this ODBC driver. Observe carefully. This is existed here, ODBC driver. See, I'm writing this ODBC at a database site almost all, but don't think like that. It's available in our system only, in our computer only, but near to database it is available. Next one, after that, this ODBC driver will connect with the database engine through the DSN name. DSN name in the configuration of the ODBC driver. In the configuration of the ODBC driver, we given some DSN name now. Then I given with my name. I said you, I am giving my name. In your configuration, you have to give your name. Like that, I said you now. So that is the connection here. That ODBC driver will connect with the database engine through the DSN name, data source name. Right. This is configured. Next one is, now we have to load and register the driver class or not. Then here we have to load and register the driver class here. What is this driver class? Actually, this is what exactly the driver class it is. No, it will be JDBC ODBC driver. What's the driver class here? JDBC ODBC driver. How this JDBC ODBC driver class is implemented here? Just understand this. The code here I'm trying to write in the case of like what there in the case of in the form of type on driver only. Here I provide it. This total setup I'm giving type on driver. But if you're using type 4 driver, ODBC is not going to be existed here, and JDBC ODBC driver, in place of that only JDBC driver is available. If it is type 4 diagram, ODBC is not going to be existed. Okay, let me complete this part here. Here class dot for name method, class dot for name method of, here we have to provide sun dot JDBC dot ODBC dot JDBC ODBC driver. That part here we provided. Right, sir. This is step number 1. This is step number 1 here, what we are having. Now the step number 1 is completed here. Automated is a part of the Java program only. That means JDBC application only. This is what we are now in JDBC. After completion of step number 1, where we are in JDBC, in the sense this is what we are. Just we made ready driver. That's it. Just we load and register driver. That's it. If it is type 1 driver, ODBC configuration is required, that we already configured. If it is type 4 driver, ODBC is not going to be existed here. Only what we are having there now, JDBC ODBC driver is existed. Sir, all of you are clear about these points now? Shall we move on to the next point here? All of you ready? Right. Next one, after completion of this, let me save this. I need this diagram throughout our content here. JDBC architecture. JDBC architecture. Let's move on to the content, guys. Next one is establish connection between Java application and database. All right, sir. To establish connection between Java application and database, we'll use the following method from java.sql.driver manager, driver manager class. In a driver manager, there is a method. What's that method here? We are going to use to establish connection between Java application and database. Don't have any questions, sir. What is the requirement of this connection? You should not have this question. What is the requirement of the connection now? Yes, sir. Do you have any doubt on this particular point? What is the requirement of the connection here? The main point of JDBC is what there? JDBC, what there? What is the meaning of JDBC? JDBC is a step-by-step process to connect with the database from Java application in order to perform database operations from Java application. Or still, if you are asking this question now, I'm going to give answer for this question is what there. In JDBC, in general, we are going to provide our database logic at which applications now? Java application only. We are going to keep all the database logic in Java application. The database logic we have to send from Java application to the database or not? To send something from one part to another part, we require communication or not? That communication must be provided by whom? No, connection only. That connection is acting as what there? Communication. Say for example, client to server architecture is available. Client has to send some request to the server or not? Server has to submit some response to the client or not? So now to send a request from client to server, to get response from server to client, we require some communication or not? That communication would be provided through a connection or not? Here also be the same thing. SQL queries are how to send from Java application to database, from database to Java application. Some data is going to be transferred. So there we require what they know, some communication. That communication we are going to provide through what their connection. Now this is JDBC connection. This is database connection. Anything here we can say no. Right, sir. Then what exactly the method here we are going to use there? That method would be like what there? Public static connection get connection method. Public static connection get a connection method. Get connection where three parameters here we are going to take. What three parameters here we are going to take there? First of all, string driver URL, comma, then string database username, comma, then what next one here? String database password. Then after that, throws. Then what exception is available? SQL exception. That's it. This is a method here we have to use. Understand this point, guys? Then what exactly the method here? Now tell me. Public static. What is the written type of this particular method? Connection. What is this method actually? Static method, and the written type is what there? Connection. What is the name of this method here? No, get connection method. This get connection method is having how many parameters here? No, get connection method is having how many parameters here? No, three parameters are available. What are the three parameters here? No, string of driver URL. Next one is what there? Database username. Next one is what there? Database password. Through. Next one is like what there? Throws a SQL exception. Clear or not? All right, sir. Now here, listen carefully. Here points here we have to understand now. First of all parameters here we have to say some point here. What points here we have to say about these parameters here? Okay, what exactly the parameters here we have to provide the information here? Try to understand this now. Where, listen carefully, database username and database password. Where database username and a database password are both are where database username and database password both are, listen carefully, both are provided by the developer at the time of database installation. That means that database username and password when we provided there at the time of installation of the database software, whatever the username and password which are provided there, that username and password here we have to provide. Sir, all of you get my point or not? No need to think much about this point here. What username and password here we are going to provide? No, at the time of installation of the database username and password. Sorry, at the time of installation of the database, what exactly the username and password we provided there? That username and password here we have to create. Yes, clear all of you guys? All of you are getting clarity on these points now? All right, sir. Next one after completion of this. Leave this one here. This part here I'm telling the driver URL. This part is required part here. Now try to understand it now. In JDBC, every driver must have its own driver class and URL. Understand my point here? Every driver, in JDBC, every driver must have its own driver class name and its own URL. First of all, understand that URL. URL is nothing but what they know is a string specification to establish connection between two systems. In the internet wall, in the internet, no URLs are available. Say for example, what is that URL here? www.facebook.com is a domain name. The domain name is mapped with one URL internally. I get my point or not? For a testing point of view, also just we can understand clearly. 1 minute, guys. I'll show this point anyway. We can understand clearly. In the case of when we open this, here if we provide www.amazon.com, this I provided. If I click on enter button here, then what will happen there? No, internally it is not showing actually, but here it is mapped with one URL. As per that URL only, request will go to like what there? No, Amazon. Understand my point here? What URL is available here? No, what URL is available here? Now observe carefully. This is that URL here. This is that URL. Now let me give some elaborated information here. This is that URL is available. http:// www.amazon.com, that is available. This is domain name. Am I right or not? This is what they know, domain name. Internally this domain name www.amazon.com is mapped with IP address and port number. Get my point or not? IP address and port number. Then what next one here? Some application name also. This is mapped internally like what there. Maybe so example I'm telling there. I'm not sure about it, but example 192.67.98.2 colon maybe some 9988 port number slash Amazon app like this. This is mapped internally. Already what is available here? No, http yes colon is available slashes. Similarly, what is going to be available here? No, https colon slashes. Get my point or not? Every URL, every domain name is mapped with one URL internally. That mapping could be done by your internet provider, internet service provider. ISP, internet service provider is available here. Local internet service provider is available. Is going to map that. They're maintaining some dictionaries internally. So all the website names are mapped with one particular URL. That mapping is provided there. If we use the domain name, automatically request will go through that particular URL only. Okay, servlets we'll talk about it. No. So finally, this is an URL to establish connection or not. This is an URL to establish connection or not. Understand my point here. Similarly, database is one separate component. Our Java program is a separate part. Java is running on one port number. Our database is running on another port number. Am I right or not? So to connect with this particular database component, here what we required, we require some URL or not. To establish connection, we required one URL or not. To establish connection with Amazon server, here we have used some URL, https:// like what there 192.78.89.2 colon some port number slash Amazon app like this. We required one URL to connect with Amazon application or not. Similarly, to connect with our database, here also we required one URL or not. Yes, that URL must be provided by the developer if you want to connect with the database software. That URL we have to provide. So that's why I'm telling there every driver must have its own driver class. And what next one here? No, URL. Through this URL only, we are going to establish a connection. What are the URLs are available here? What exactly the URLs are available? Try to understand this. No, type 1 driver provided by Sun Microsystems. For a type 1 driver, what exactly the driver class name? What is that URL actually? Driver class. Tell me guys, what is this driver class for a type 1 driver? Come on, you have to tell me what is the driver class name? Sun dot jdbc dot odbc dot jdbc odbc driver. Of course, not required to remember this driver class too much here. One or two examples I can show. Remaining onwards, everything we are going to run with what there? Type 4 driver. But concept point of view, I'm telling that. Next one is like what there? Driver URL. Driver URL. All of you observe this guys. What is this driver URL here? jdbc colon odbc colon dsn name. In the configuration of the odbc, we provided one dsn name. I given my name, Nog I given. In the same way, you might be given your own name. That name here we have to provide. This is like what their driver URL. In the case of what? No, in the case of type 1 driver provided by Sun Microsystems. Understand my point here. Later on, I will give syntax of this driver URL also. But for better understanding purpose, I'm giving directly examples now. Later on, I'll go for it. Next one is, this is type 1 driver. Similarly, listen carefully. Now, this is like what there? Type 4 driver. Type 4 driver provided by Oracle provided by whom there? Oracle. This we have to remember for long time. Right, so now what is this now? Driver class name. What is the driver class name? Okay, now tell me. Oracle dot JDBC dot. What next one? Okay, no. Oracle driver. This is newer one actually, but previously older one, outdated one is also available. Oracle dot. Then what next one? Here JDBC dot driver dot Oracle driver. This is sub package. Driver is what they know, sub package. Right, sir. In the latest version, that sub package is a deprecated one, outdated one. So not using that. That's why here people are using only this one. This is like what they're new, and this is like what they know outdated. Now what we have to use in our present applications now, we are using almost all very latest version of the Oracle database or not. So what we have to use there, that newer one only here we have to use. What is that newer one here now? Oracle dot JDBC dot Oracle driver. This one only here we have to use. Try to understand this clearly. Next one is, this is about like what there, type 4 driver class name. But what about this driver URL actually? If you observe this clearly, driver URL is what there, understand my point here, JDBC colon Oracle colon thin colon at the rate localhost colon 1521 colon XE. This is for what database users know? XE users. Right, sir. Now here XE users, XE users. XE users in the sense Oracle 11XE maybe, Oracle 18XE maybe, Oracle 21XE maybe. For all the XE users that we are able to use. Yes, sir. Got my point or not? Okay, right, sir. Okay, no problem. Something is going on here in my system. Right, sir. JDBC colon Oracle colon thin colon at the rate localhost colon 1521 colon XE. Okay, no problem. Later on I will fix it. Now this is like what their XE users here we can understand. For example, my database is Oracle 12C, sir. My database is like what the Oracle 19C, and my database is like what they know maybe 21C. Something else, some enterprise editions here we are using now. Then where everything will be like what there JDBC colon as is almost the same colon thin colon at the rate localhost colon 1521 colon in place of XE we have to write what there ORCL. In place of XE what we have to write there ORCL. Those who are installed database along with me, you have to use XE. That means I have installed what there no 21 XE. But those who are not installed XE, those who are having already 12C, there we have to use like what there no ORCL. ORCL that we have to use in place of what there XE. That everything is same. Driver jar file is almost all same. Maybe of course in place of this OJDBC 11.jar we may see OJDBC 8.jar, or we may see OJDBC like 11 OJDBC like what there 9.jar, OJDBC 10.jar. But now here I'm having like what there OJDBC 11.jar. Why? Because 21x I'm using there, it is compatible with Oracle like JDBC 11, sorry, Java 11 version here now. So similarly we may identify one jar file in the same location there. Okay, then that is said that we have to set class path to that particular one. And apart from that, what exactly the URL here we have to use there? Driver class is very same in all the versions of Oracle, but URL might be a bit different. In the case of XE versions, XE is the service name, that service ID. In general, we used to say it is what there service ID XE, but in your case, it may be like what there ORCL that we have to identify. Right, so this is in the case of what they know type 4 driver provided by whom? Type 4 driver provided by whom they know? Like Oracle can know. Now this I am telling to you. This is for what there Oracle enterprise editions. Maybe 11C, comma 12C, and so on. What I am telling there, and so on. Next one is after that type 4 driver provided by MySQL. Type 4 driver provided by whom there? MySQL. Observe carefully. Here what we are providing there inside this. First of all, driver class. What is this driver class here? We have to provide now. Then it will be com.mysql.cj.jdbc.driver. No changes on this driver class name. It is very same in every version of the MySQL. Then what is changed here? Driver URL. Driver URL. Then what is this driver URL here? JDBC colon MySQL colon slash s localhost colon 3306 slash database name. 1521 is a port number for Oracle driver. 3306 is a port number for what they know? MySQL database. Right, sir. In both the cases, see, in the case of MySQL, host name is what I have used here, no local host. Then in the case of Oracle also, what is the host name I provided here, no local host. Observe carefully. Now, this local host is representing my database software is available in the same current system where I'm running my JDBC program. My database server or database software is running on the same current system. But at what port number can know? Oracle is running on 1521 port number, and my MySQL is running on what they know? 3306. Sir, all of you get my point or not? See, for every, if you want to establish connection there, IP address is required and port number is also required. If you want to establish connection, if you want to provide communication, system IP address is required and port number is required. That means in JDBC, we are establishing connection with Oracle database. Maybe in some situations, Oracle database may be available the same in the current mission, or maybe Oracle database is available at some other machine in the network. If Oracle database is available at some other machine in the network there, in place of local host, we have to give that system IP address. At which IP address that Oracle database is running there, we have to give that IP address, that system IP address we have to provide. In that system, at which port number that Oracle is running there, that port number here we have to provide. As guys, all of you are getting my point or not? So because of these reasons here, what I'm telling to you clearly, overall my point is what? Here almost all three examples here we have seen there about the driver class and driver URL. Type 1 driver provided by Sun Microsystems. Sun.jdbc.odbc.jdbc driver class. JDBC colon ODBC colon some DSN name. Next one is type 4 driver class. Driver class name is like what there? Oracle.jdbc.oracle driver. Driver URL is what there? Now JDBC colon Oracle colon thin colon at the rate localhost colon 1521 colon XE or maybe ORCL. In the case of MySQL, com.mysql.cj.jdbc.driver. But what is that URL here we provided? Can know JDBC colon MySQL colon slashes localhost colon 3306 slash database name. The database name we have to create there. I will show that how to create the database inside the MySQL database now. So finally here I'm telling to all of you guys, now try to understand it. In JDBC, every driver must have its own driver class and its URL. Am I right or not? All right, sir. Now the point I'm telling there. All right, sir. Now the point here, what I'm telling there. Here in JDBC, every driver URL is existed with the following format. Every JDBC driver URL is existed with the following syntax, the format. What is that format here? Main protocol name colon sub protocol name colon, then what next one here? No division colon or slash, whatever it may be. Then what next one here? No database name, or simply speaking SID, database name or SID. SID is nothing but service ID. That we have to specify. Main protocol name colon sub protocol name colon database name. Observe carefully. Next one more point here. Here in JDBC, main protocol name is common for all the drivers. That is JDBC. Understand my point or not? In web protocols, in every web protocol, HTTP is a common or not? That is nothing but what their protocol name. Protocol name, HTTP protocol name here we are using. Here also the protocol name is what their JDBC. JDBC protocol here we are using. In which way we understood HTTP or HTTPS. S stands for secure. HTTP over secure. Understand my point now? Now here JDBC is a protocol name, main protocol name. Observe carefully in the first type on driver URL, JDBC colon, this is main protocol name. ODBC is a sub protocol name. DSNM is representing database name. In the case of type 4 driver provided by Oracle here, JDBC is the main protocol name. The remaining up to this part is what their sub protocol name. Oracle colon, thin colon, @localhost colon, 1521 colon. All right, up to this point here. Up to this point is what their sub protocol name. But XE stands for what they know expression. That is nothing but database representation. Database name here. Similarly, JDBC colon, Oracle colon, thin colon, @localhost colon, 1521 colon. ORCL is what their database representation, SID. Next one, in the case of MySQL, JDBC colon, this is what their main protocol name. MySQL colon /s localhost colon 3306. This is what their sub protocol name for what they know MySQL database. Then where database name here we have to create, we have to provide the database name. How to create this I will show in the programming part. Don't worry for it. Right, sir. Now this is what we completed clearly. This is about what their driver URL and its point now. Why we are discussing about this driver URL, guys? Now tell me, in a get connection method, what exactly the first parameter? No, driver URL. That's why we are discussing about the total point here. Every database driver, every driver has its own URL. But all the URLs must be provided in a fixed format. What is that fixed format? You know, that fixed format is what their main protocol name, sub protocol name, and database name. Where main protocol name is what their JDBC. Main protocol name is what their JDBC. Sub protocol name is varied from database to database, and the database name is also be varied here. Then examples are already given that. Moreover, in the get connection method, remaining two parameters are available. What are the two parameters? No, database username and a database password. Right, sir. Database username and password. What do you have given while installation of the database? No, that we have to provide here in the same values we have to provide in case of this get connection method. That's okay, fine. Then after that, I want to show an example, guys. Now try to understand this example code. Example 1. In the case of like what there type 1 driver. In the case of like what there type 1 driver. Observe carefully. Here, what is the point here? I have to provide there connection con is equal to get connection method is static method or non-static method. Get connection method is a static method in driver manager class or not. That's why here we have to write driver manager dot get connection of here parameter value. Parameter here we have to provide. First parameter here we have to provide. What is that first parameter, sir? Now tell me. No, driver URL we have to provide. That is what they know. JDBC colon ODBC colon DSNM that I already created. Comma. Second parameter is what there? My database username, my database password that I provided. Semicolon. That's it. Of course, we can write everything in a single line here, but in the form of three parameters separately, I'm writing that for the sake of your understanding purpose here. But in our actual code, we are going to write either we can write in this way or we can write directly in a single line here. That depends on your requirement. Right, so now this is type 1 driver provided by Sun Microsystems. Now tell me similarly, what next one here I'm telling there. Example 2, type 4 driver provided by Oracle. Type 4 driver provided by Oracle. Now tell me guys, then what we are able to provide there? Same thing we are able to copy or not? Same thing here I'm going to copy. Now inside this, what we are able to have there in place of this driver URL, what we are able to provide there? No, URL maybe JDBC colon Oracle colon, what next one here? Thin colon @localhost colon 1521 colon XE. JDBC colon Oracle colon thin colon @localhost colon 1521 colon XE. Then anyway, then we are going to practice it number of times here. So automatically it will be rememberable for you. Easily we can remember it. Okay, not required to by heart even. When we are doing some exercise over the programs, no, automatically we are able to get in your mind. So that is driver URL. But still, if we are not remembering this, no need to worry for it. Open Oracle manual. There we can see the driver class names. Oracle database we installed or not? There open that Oracle manual. There definitely some README file or something else is going to be available. Or maybe Oracle documentation is available. Then check in Oracle documentation. There we can see everything. Right, sir. Next one is like what there after completion of this. So this is about like what there type4 driver provided by Oracle. Then database username and password is what there system and Durga. Then what we are having. Next one is similarly. I want to provide example 3. Example 3. Now this is like what there type4 driver provided by MySQL. Type4 driver provided by MySQL. If you observe this one here, what we are able to get there, understand it, no? Same copy I'm trying to provide here, but what changes here we require, sir? Now tell me here, no? The changes would be JDBC colon MySQL colon /s localhost colon 3306 slash Durga DB. I have to create that anyway in the MySQL database. Durga DB that we have to prepare. Right, sir. Then database username is not system. In the case of MySQL, it would be root, and password also I have to create. That is what the root only I created. In my MySQL database, the root and root are what there username and password that we prepared clearly. Sir, are you getting my point or not? Guys, I'm asking one question. Try to answer for it. What is this local host here? What is this local host here? Here also we are using local host, and here we are not using local host, of course. Now here we are using local host and local host. What is this actually? Database server IP address. In which system the database server is existed? In which system database is existed? I set you by default. If I want to prepare any JDBC program, I have to install Oracle database in the same computer or not? In the same computer, in the sense computer name is what their current system or not? That is a local host or not? That's why we are using it. For example, if your database server is available at a different machine in the network, not in the current machine, it is available at a different machine in the network. Whenever it is available in a different computer in the network, identify that computer IP address and use that computer IP address in the URL part in place of localhost. In place of localhost, we have to provide what there that other system IP address. Maybe if your database is available to cloud, if your database is available to cloud IP address is available or not? Definitely some URL is going to be available to connect with our cloud database or not? Yeah, that one also be here. We have to use there clearly. See, for everything, some address is available definitely. Some identity is available for the machine where our database is running now. That IP address, that respective IP address here we have to provide in place of this local host. Guys, observe carefully. See, I think long time back, how to create a database at cloud, how to connect with the cloud database. I prepared some JDBC programs there. Long time back, in YouTube might be my video is available in Durgasoft channel. Try to check once. There you can understand how we connected with the cloud database from our current machine there. Database I have not installed in my local machine. Just I have Java software only, but database is not available. Database I have taken in AWS, Amazon Web Services. There I have taken database. One instance I have taken, database instance I have taken. Of course, it's the free tier only. I have taken that. There my database is existed now. Then I try to connect with what they know, my cloud database from my local machine. There I have done that. So try to check that. A video is available. AWS for Java developers. Like this, I given some video where if you check there, the total, how to take a server also, server instance also in AWS. That I've taken that. Try to check once if you want to get more clarity on it. But there, what is the mimic I have done there? Nothing else. In place of this local host, what I provided? Cloud IP address. In place of localhost, I provided what there? Cloud IP address. In that way, here we provided, guys. Right, guys. Now that's clear, very clear information. Then up to now here, what we understood there. Step number 2, just we introduced this. Just have given some information there, but we have not understand internally what's going to be happen here. So don't worry for it. And tomorrow we are going to understand this content here. Tomorrow at 7 to 8:30 AST's class, you can attend there. I'm going to complete max tomorrow the second step and as well as the third and fourth steps maximum. If I complete this fourth step, fifth step is nothing there. But max as much as possible, I try to complete this part here and tomorrow without wasting your time, I try to attend for it. Okay, that's all guys. That's all for today. Then tomorrow we'll see the remaining content. Thank you. Thanks a lot.